you might be. Are you in the browser? Oh, you know what? Hit refresh real quick. That'll fix it. Had mic in stereo over there. Get some 3D glasses. It's like what VR porn looks like without the VR headset.
It's like 2 times.
You ever wanted the immersive Mike Lawrence experience? That was it, guys.
That was it.
Get your 3D goggles out. Do this. Oh, I wanted to make sure I just don't have to invite him back on screen.
Are you
Okay,
right?
okay, he's still invited.
Right, because sometimes it uninvited.
Okay.
Yeah. There you. All right,
Hey, baby.
all right, man. I'm gonna get us started. Here we go. Hey,
Okay,
welcome
sounds
to
good.
another episode. Oh, we got a delay apparently. We got a delay.
You want us to refresh?
You know what? Give me a second, Mike. I'm gonna go to a different browser. Sometimes we have a delay in Firefox. 1 second. Make sure all the phones off the Wi-Fi. Yeah. I should be hopping back on the screen in a second. Okay, there I am. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was on it.
All right, Mike, how you doing, man?
Good. I've never felt fatter than filling 2 screens at once.
With the super
Look, I'm
close
not
up
that
to
bad.
yeah. All right, here we go.
One of them was the WGA me, and the other was the SAG me.
SAG and multiple.
For once, we're together in unison.
All right, here we go. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Black Autism Podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
And we are live on a Wednesday, a very fun, wacky Wednesday.
Yay!
We have a very fun special guest that I was checking. I went to look in the archives. We have not had Mike Lawrence on this show since 2016.
Wow, it's been that long?
According to my search. Now, look, maybe I'm wrong and I did a bad search, but it don't feel like that long, but it's probably been that long. Mike, can you catch us up on the last 7 years?
Yeah, nothing's really changed in America. For me, everything, you know. 2016 was the first time America started feeling great again, and I don't remember why. No.
Right. It was just about we were due. Mike, can you also?
You're just like you're like we can't have bearded white guys.
Yeah.
Now that they own the country, they can't be on this podcast.
Yeah, we were like, listen, they're the ones that got out of control. You go look at January 6th, it's all bearded white dudes. We gotta take them down a notch. Mike, can you catch people up on like what you've been up to? I know you've been writing for Bupkis. I know you I went to your IMDb, like SNL.
A busy dude. You done had a whole ass baby.
Upload. Like so much has happened, but can you talk about like the writing first and then we'll get into some personal life stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I've just I'm not writing now.
Yeah.
Not too many people are.
I have so much free time. I could do a podcast in the afternoon.
Nerd of Mouth is coming back, everyone. But yeah, so like
I've been working with Pete Davidson a decent amount. So I worked on Bupkis. I co-wrote his last 3 years of SNL Weekend Updates. And I've been on the road with him doing a little bit of stand-up. We were in Raleigh, Durham. How'd
you meet Pete Davidson? Is that like a personal connection thing? Is that just like how does that even work?
I think he's just as a fan of mine from when he was doing stand-up. He told me like the other day, and I never knew this, he was like, Sadamantium was the first comedy album I bought.
Wow.
And he's like, and I loved it. And I was like, even then I was like, I want to work with that guy. So
wow. That is so dope. The world is so
it was cool to hear.
That's so dope. And then also like that like to him, low key, he's like living a dream of his. Then, like,
Mm-hmm.
I get to work with this guy that I've admired and looked up to, and you get to live a dream of getting money to do work.
Yeah, it's the weird thing of like just, I always say with comedy, anything, right? Just do your best. You never know who's watching, and
Right.
you never know who's gonna like discover you. And I mean, when I started working with him, I already had like a pretty decent resume, but it's just, it's been nice, and he's really great to work with, and we have similar dating histories, so it's.
Yeah, Ariana Grande. Yeah, I mean, we know about the Mike Lawrence legacy. Okay, we know how you get down in the streets.
We know you be in the streets.
and I'm Jewish, so now we both hate Kanye.
Yeah. Bringing people together, Kanye West. Who would have thought?
Who knew?
Yeah, I remember I said to Pete, I was like, when he just hated you, everyone was okay with it, and then it gave him enough confidence to be like, I also don't like the Jews.
Yeah. You also have.
So next time someone goes after,
go ahead. Oh, you know
next
what?
time someone goes after Pete, just.
We have a delay. I think I know how to fix this. Okay, we're gonna take it back to the old school. Okay. When one of us is done speaking, we're gonna say over, like it's a walkie-talkie. Okay, I think that'll fix it. I'm dead serious. So because if not, it's gonna be confusing for the audience. So I was gonna say. I'm so sincere. Karen. This part is not a joke. If I also saw that you like worked on like reality TV, which has no writers or whatever. How does that work, Mike? Over.
Oh man, we're just 10-4, good buddy. The Convoy podcast, Kevin Convoy. So I worked on Love Island. I worked on the first season of the American Love Island, and I stayed there until the season was over.
What was the premise of Love Island? Over.
It was hot people fucking.
Okay.
Over.
Fucking over each other, or just and what does it mean to like to work on that? Because I know the big thing is it's not like supposed to be writers, quote unquote. So what does it look like to work? There. Like, what is a work day over?
I think we could just, instead of saying over, we could just do that weird thing that no one's done in years and listen to each other.
Okay, we could try that.
We'll try that, and if that doesn't work, then we'll go back to the other.
Go back to CB Radio.
I wrote the VO, so I co-wrote the voiceover. So when you watch Love Island, there's that snarky person.
Wow.
And they, like make different puns and stuff. So we were there. Our schedule, it was in Fiji, 1 a.m. till noon. And noon is basically in Fiji 8 p.m. the night before when it airs in America. So we were basically working up until the air date. So it was as close to like live TV as you can have without it being live.
And is it kind of like up your alley to do that kind of narrating, writing, because you roast people by like trade, like that is a specialty of yours. Is it kind of like just writing a roast on all these hot people?
Yeah, in some ways, yeah. I mean, it was funny because we would share the same hotel, and I never wanted them to know who I was in case they watched the show. But it was also, I always said this, my role was, I was like, we're never going to be as mean as Twitter, which, that's actually the role of neo-Nazis now. And
I always
everyone,
like Twitter is
I'm not going to be,
because
Kanye West wakes up and says, I will not be as mean as Twitter.
Yeah, I'm just like Twitter's kind of scary because I feel like the average person gives himself permission to be mean in a way that is not really like necessarily fueled by fun. You know, like even a roast is supposed to be undergirded by like, we're having fun, we're in this together. I feel like Twitter killed the red carpet commentary.
Yes.
Like I remember when like Joan Rivers would get out there and it was like funny mean but cute mean, like we're all having a laugh, you're a celebrity in $1 million dress, of course we got to say something, and then you're human again, and then you go in and look gorgeous. And I feel like Twitter just took that away from people. It's just like none of the fun and none of the mean, none of the love is there. It's just all the mean.
No, yeah, it's just you're ugly, you know. And Joan would like, and I mean that was the right. Like Joan was one of them.
Yeah,
she wasn't one of us. She was a part of that celebrity elite on Mount Olympus or whatever it is.
Yes,
removed, so she would protect them. She knew, you know, she knew who was gay, who wasn't, what she could say, what she couldn't.
Right,
right. She'd joke herself, like she. You know, some people would come back and roast her. Like it was something that was like there was like a shared mutual agreement or something. And I feel like that's what's gone now when you just have like anonymous people on one side shitting on people. Do the celebrities or the people on Love Island and the reality shows, do they see Twitter? Like, do they see what is said about them?
Well, yeah. On shows like that, it's often after the tape, you know, so when they get eliminated and stuff. And then they get talked to by, you know, they have like psychologists and stuff on set, and they talk to them like, are you ready for this? Because it's, you know, I mean, you know, on all the issues that people deal with in regular life, like there was a guy on that first season, and he was a black man who left a black woman for a white woman on the show.
Oh, I know that didn't go well with a large percentage of people.
Oh, no.
They were just like, no.
So he gets, you know, he gets eliminated after that. And, you know, and then he's got to go on Twitter. And he's, you know, he's in Fiji. He's still there. And he has to read all of these responses, and you know, and people have to talk to him like beforehand, like, are you ready to go back? Like, because every decision you've made is being judged.
And is that a thing where one of the shows where they bring back people that get eliminated at some point, or is it you're just on Fiji just for the duration of the taping, whether you get back on camera or not?
Yeah, a lot of times shows like that, it's just because they don't know if they're gonna want someone back. You know, like there was one person that was eliminated that came back 2 weeks later, and you know they were there. So I think like a lot of those shows, it's always my favorite thing on reality shows. Like when you watch like you know, like a Top Chef or a Project Runway, and it's like the finals. They're like, guess who your sous chefs are, and it's just the eliminated people.
Yes,
right.
It's always and they have to act like they're surprised, like, oh, you
right. Oh no, we don't like each other.
A lot of those shows, but a lot of those shows are just kept there, and it's, you know, I mean, it's interesting how reality TV has changed, just in that we're so savvy to it now, and now people that are on it are the people that were raised on it, and that's new.
And what's really wild now is that you're starting to see people who have like the advent of social media during reality TV, and reality TV contestants, like whatever actors, whatever you want to call them, they're picking up on the social media lingo and inserting it into like the most, because these are the most controversial, ridiculous transactions that are happening. Like, you need to fall in love in 3 days. But it's so different when they have like therapy words and shit to like insert into it.
And also, I think was what I've realized with this growth, you have reality TV that's not really reality because we're in the future. So there are things that happen that we already like. It's like we already know the storyline because we watch these people take their reality show and their real lives actually out there in the world, and then their real lives make it into the reality show.
Yeah.
Which is kind of strange sometimes. I was like, well, this is not new. We already knew this happened 3 months ago.
Yeah, you do see that sometimes. Where like there's a video of somebody like a viral.
Well, and there's like,
you go, Mike.
You know, there's such an industry in it now with Cameo and all of that. Like
Right.
it behooves you to get that screen time, to be that certain type of character. I mean, it was so funny. There was and it is like when you're working on it, you have to see them as characters and all of that. And
Right.
you know, this person is in this role and that person's in that role. It's just easier to, you know, you're the surrogate for the audience. Like that's what I always said when we were doing the narration. Like I should be saying what you're thinking, but a little bit funnier, not as me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know, and when VO is great on those shows, that's what it is. Like, oh,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and you could point out stuff, and that's where my brain of like my autism is like very like detail oriented. So I would point out like a bird in the background and stuff like that. Because it's also, you know, we did that show was like we did 23 episodes and they're an hour each, some were longer, and you just have to start riffing on different stuff, you know?
Wow, I can't even imagine. And then like, are you privy to like the quote unquote edits, or is edits like, and this is another thing I wonder, are the edits quote unquote that people complain about, is that overrated where it's like, no, buddy, you are a jerk and you did jerk things and we got it on camera? Or is it really that like, look, man, they're all kind of the same and then things are edited to make some of them look like heroes and villains?
I mean, I think, you know, a lot of times, like I would, you know, you hear like, hey, we can't air anything that you didn't do, you know? And it's like, you chose to do this. And, I mean, a lot of times, like, yeah, the way I'd say that edits often work, in stuff like that is usually, in terms of like who the focus is, right? Like, you know, it's the crew's job to capture everybody, but then it's the editors and producers' job to focus on what's going to make the most interesting story. So, you know, it's like, you know, every season you watch Love is Blind and there's what, like 30 people in that pod and you're like, who the fuck is that guy? Or, you know, like even a show like you're like Married at First Sight. It's like the couples are not getting equal time. Or 90 Day Fiance. That's part of why they like, you know, follow 5 or 6 at a time. And then it's like, okay, well, this is the most interesting couple. And,
Which work?
And I mean, it's fascinating because I feel like the people on the shows, those characters, you know, it's like they have to be interesting in new ways. You can't just do the same thing that you've already done, you know, and it's because the fans are smart to it.
Yep.
You know, it's like, you know, those housewife fans, they'll immediately reject a housewife if they don't think she's authentic or she doesn't have good chemistry with Andy Cohen.
Right, yeah. Listen, her $20 million worth of body work is making her feel inauthentic to me. Okay, I need to be more real. Which work do you, if there's a preference, which work do you find more fun or fulfilling? The scripted work that is, you know, like Bupkis and upload, or the like you know, reality show work that is happening on an island that in a resort, probably.
I mean, yeah, I would say the narrative work of like creating a story from nothing, you know, like something like, you know, like Love Island is more in line with like you know, like that you did, you know, like I did The Soup, like, you know, it's reactionary. You're reacting to things that are given to you, you know, whatever the news is of the day or whatever that is, and that's a fun thing. It's a quicker thing, and then the other is, you know, you're making something out of nothing. You're creating entire characters and story arcs, and that to me, like the nerd in me of like that world building and stuff, that is more fun. But I like doing both.
Yeah. I think I just started writing narrative stuff for a podcast about like Black history and stuff, but they wanted to be like comedy, so it's a lot of dark humor stuff. And it's a different muscle than like late night, because like you said, late night you're reacting. It's like how quick can you get to the point? You know what I mean? Like, can you
Mhm.
make this joke like 20 seconds shorter and then now it's a perfect joke,
Yes.
as opposed to this where it's lengthening and I'm creating characters out of scratch and trying to come up with like archetypes in my head and like what like celebrity like comparisons where I'm like, oh, what if this person sound like Tiffany Haddish or something? And it is like a rewarding type of work, but I also find it a little bit harder to do.
I mean, I always found it easier because there's such more like a quick time limit on that stuff. A lot of, it's like, you're making a weekly show. The show's gonna air. It's gonna be
Yeah.
made. It's gonna, and and with Love Island, it was like daily, and a lot of Love Island was like, we had 4 seconds to make a joke. We had 6 seconds. We would get the edit back, and they'd be like, "This is your window to say something."
Oh
Or,
man.
they'd say, all right, here's 12 seconds. This is the narrative we need you to push. This is, what we need you to set up. This is the teaser for the next episode. 15 seconds, like whatever that is. And so your word economy becomes so much,
Yeah.
tighter and
That is
specific. Like, so,
that
like,
is a good point, because like with me right now, it sometimes it feels like weird when they give me something and I actually have like a week or two to get it done. You know, where it's like
Mhm.
I'm putting pressure on myself where I'm like, fuck, is this thing due? I better get up at 3 a.m. and work on this. And I'm like, calm down. You actually got fucking like 8 more days to even turn in the first draft. So you're right. The having time to stretch your legs and use your imagination is fun. I do find myself thinking more than I write though. Like I think about it more, and then when I write, it's almost like it pours out faster than if I was like I don't like sit down and bang at the keyboard all day. You know?
No, no. I
Um,
mean, it is funny because like, that other type of like that quicker, faster, variety writing, like I was saying,
mm,
I definitely think it makes you better,
yeah,
because you do have to just do something, and it is interesting like how critical people are of like, these daily shows all the daily monologues and all that
yes,
stuff. And
Right.
it's like,
That's not easy.
you know sometimes they have 2 hours, 3 hours, a news, like a late night show could tape at 5, and the big story of the day happens at 2. And
yeah,
and now, this is where Twitter happens again, right? You're competing against Twitter. You're
yep,
Yeah.
trying to, like, I mean, to me, I think that, comedically speaking, one of the worst things about Trump was the jokes were so easy and repetitive that there was no difference
yes,
between what a professional can do and what anyone else could do. And it
yes,
really was fucking boring and
Yes.
insufferable to
yeah.
hear anyone make jokes by
He,
the end.
he's uh he's a
It's
great
so funny.
example of like how it's hard to parody something that is already a parody of itself.
Right.
Like you're
Yeah.
just stating what the fuck he said and often stumbling into shit they like, even if you're trying to be ahead of the curve, like my friend JL Covan does an amazing Trump impression, but it's all extemporaneous. He doesn't write anything down. And often he literally will stumble into some shit that like 24 hours later, Trump will just say exactly what the fuck he said.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's like he's fucking parody proof or something. I don't get it. We just let him be president.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it's interesting when, like comedies try to parody comedies and stuff, and it doesn't like the more serious something is, the better the parody is. A lot of times,
yeah.
like I love that movie, Don't Be a Menace to South Central.
Oh,
Well,
so good.
you're
Yes.
choosing
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
because it was like it was insane that they were doing that, that they were parodying things that had just come out, and like
Yeah,
that was like, I love the first Scary Movie, but the second one where they like did 70s movies, it was like, it felt so removed.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. But that first one was the shit. And it's also that thing too where like it's easy to parody something that took itself seriously and was self-important, and then you get to like deconstruct it. But when no one's taking something like when everyone's like, this is a big ass joke, it's just much harder to walk that line, man. Let me ask you this.
I think like those.
Let me ask you this too. You've been openly talking about autism, and I don't think in 2016 when you're on the show, had you even been diagnosed with autism at that time?
I don't think he had.
No, I got diagnosed in 2021
during the pandemic.
Yeah. I say, you know, it was like, I have a 4-hour personality, and now my wife is having to spend 12. You know, and it's like, you know, it was like going from watching one of the Lord of the Rings movies, and now she had to watch the Hobbit trilogy every day.
And so, yeah, go ahead.
No, so I really had to like figure out how to adjust, and you know, or at least find an excuse. And no, because there's a lot of work once you get the diagnosis, and I've had to like put a lot of work in terms of being more patient and stuff. And I mean, yeah, and in fatherhood, it's like I think my diagnosis has been great for me, because I used to like have panic attacks and stuff, and time was like a big thing if I was late to something, and now, you know, you have an infant, you're gonna be late, you're gonna not be there on time and all that stuff.
Right.
And you really have to like regulate your emotions.
Yeah, and people understand, I think, too, because they've all gone through, you know, infants and all that stuff, and it's a lot of that stuff can be in your head where like, because I'm very particular about time. I have anxiety about stuff as well, and it's always so weird. Like it works out. It just does. But in my brain, when it's happening, it's like, this is never gonna work out. I'm 2 minutes late. Mike's gonna be fucking upset. He's gonna hate this. And then I get here, I'm 2 minutes late, and it's like, you know what? The fuck, it doesn't matter. Everything's on delay anyway. If I was on time, I would have been 2 minutes late according to this internet. So fuck it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that, you know, it comes with age too, of realizing the amount of, you know, life you've taken off yourself for worrying about shit that doesn't matter. And
right,
you know, it's like I look, you know, my dad passed. You know, he died in February. He was 69, so that number's ruined forever for me.
Nice.
And but you know, but he you know, but he was like a very stressed guy, and I think like I remember when I was getting tested for autism, I had to, you know, talk to my parents about like signs that they noted, if they noticed anything. And my dad said, he's like, yeah, I probably am, you know. He's like, we just didn't diagnose back then. We just bullied the kids that were different, you know.
True. That's true. Like, here's a wedgie.
He's like, you didn't want to be different. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I'm gonna give you a wedgie so high you'll be lifted up into the spectrum.
let me help you get there faster.
What is the autism test like? Like, and what made you decide to like, yo, I should probably look into this?
I mean, it was like just realizing, yeah, like things were making me more frustrated, and we started talking about the adoption process. And so, and I just knew, I was like, if I become a dad now, this is not good for anybody.
Right.
You know, and so it gave me clarity. And I mean, I was watching that show, Love on the Spectrum, and you know, it's Love Island if they knew what was wrong with them. But So I'm watching that, and I see myself in one or two of the people. And I was like, okay, this is very clear. And so I talked to my therapist, and she knows somebody who does evaluations. And the evaluation was online. I don't know if this might be the first podcast I've shared this story. I'm not sure because it's very, very funny and very nerdy. But so I'm being interviewed by this woman, and this was during the pandemic, so it was over Zoom. And I have a poster right behind me of Spider-Man issue 137, where it's Spider-Man fighting the Green Goblin. And this woman, like 30 minutes into the interview, she's like, I'm guessing you know who my ex-husband is. My ex-husband. And I'm like, ex-husband? And I look at her name, Dr. Conway. I'm like, Conway? Is your ex-husband Gary Conway? She's like, yeah, he's my ex-husband. I was like, oh my God!
Wow.
And that was his issue behind it.
Wow. Oh,
And
man.
one of the symptoms of autism is you get fixated on something and it's all you want to talk about. So all I wanted to talk about.
No.
You checked all the boxes.
It's like, I just want to be like, did he name his dick the Punisher? And that's why he created it?
Those are the real
Did you
questions.
guys get divorced because he treated you like Gwen Stacy?
He's just writing on her pad like, check, yes, autism, yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then I see the pad. Like, so when I got the test, I like, subject is asking me a lot about
Won't stop talking about my fucking ex-husband. Man, that's hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
I also feel like, at least from online, seeing you talk about it, it seems like it's provided like a clarity, and there's like, if you pardon me saying, there's like an enjoyment that you have now of the nerd stuff that I feel like you consumed, but at least to me, it's on the outside looking in, it felt like it would almost make you miserable. To as much as you loved it, you also like kind of like, this is what's wrong with everything. This is what's bad about everything. And then there's like a switch flip, and I'm already one of these optimistic fucking love everything nerds.
Right.
I know.
Yeah, me and Roger got on nerds that people hate because they like, y'all love everything. It's like, no, we don't. We just, we enjoy the shit. We enjoy it.
I'm critical of things
trash,
too, but
right?
I like a lot of stuff, and that vibe isn't really one of community online. Like a lot of people find community in a lot of the negative things. It's like how Twitter just, it goes to negative. It's not really what people intend to do, but if you got something bad to say, it's gonna get more traction on Twitter than if you have something good to say. Anyway, seeing you switch kind of to like a lot more positive and funny, in the not like roasting way, which was always funny too, but it's like a different type of funny that seems, I don't know, joyous, I guess is the word I'll put it. Was that like a conscientious thing, or is that just something that came along with like, oh man, this diagnosis, working on myself, and bam, I have a different perspective?
Yeah, some of it. And it's funny too that like, I think what really helped with my nerd perspective is I don't consume as much of it now. And like my spider sense will tingle, and and it's like I say like one of the most important moments of my adult nerd life was the first episode of Iron Fist, because I was like, this is bad. I'm not enjoying this. And I didn't watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch Defenders. And then it was like, you could just not watch these things.
It is an option.
So, and there's Marvel shows that I haven't watched. Some of the, I've not seen an episode of Secret Invasion.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff too is like, people told you for years when you were complaining about stuff, they be on your Facebook page like, Mike, you don't have to watch this. And I guess it just took a while, and then you were like, damn, y'all was right. I can skip the ones that I don't fuck with.
Well, you know what part of it is, and I think you guys will relate to this. We're similar ages, but
Yeah.
When you were a kid and there were comics, you didn't read every comic. There were certain you could only buy X amount of stuff. And it was the 90s, so it was definitely had an X on it. But
Yeah.
you could only buy X men amount of stuff.
Right.
But you could only like read a few characters. And I remember like when the Moon Knight show came out, I was like, I never bought a fucking Moon Knight comic in my life.
Yes.
I was like, I don't need it. I was like,
And,
I've
like,
never
I would
read
find
Moon Knight. I'm like,
myself-
I'm not gonna.
I would find myself forcing myself to watch stuff that I wasn't really into. So I would like some of the stuff I would skip or just catch at my own leisurely pace. And I think what people don't realize is this right now, this period that we're in, this is what comic books is.
Right, you can't consume everything.
The
It's
shit
just too much.
The shit before, when it was just like everything was like a neat narrative line all the way to the Avengers and the Endgame and stuff. That's not really what the comic book experience is. Like that's the height of the best thing. But real life comic book experience is you walk in and you're like, I don't know, man. This Moon Knight shit seems kind of fucking weird. And why is Wolverine in an issue? Like, I gotta read the first 6 issues to find out why Wolverine's in an issue. Like, that's really what comic books is. It's more of a like, here's some shit for these type of people. Like, I'd say Miss Marvel feels kind of like a kid's show for some folks.
Yes.
What If is for the super nerd, like comic book hardcore guy. The Secret Invasion is almost for like almost a throwback show at this point of like, remember spies and costumes, and you're like, oh, I thought we were on multiverse theory at this point. Like, it's like there's something for everybody at this fucking point, and I think if people just cherry pick the things they think they would be interested in, it raises your like enjoyment rather than trying to consume it all like fucking homework.
Yeah, I think people get mad.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, they feel like it was homework and they weren't prepared. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is comic books. Because in my mind, I go, you know what? There are people like your mother who go, I like Black Panther. I don't give a fuck about the Avengers. I don't give goddamn about nobody's crossover. Yep. Call me when Black Panther 3 comes and I will watch it. That's how people consume comic books. They go, this is who I'm watching. Superman. I don't care nothing about the group, the Justice League. Fuck that.
Right.
And so people don't realize, to me, it's just that simple. But because you introduced the populace to a world that they were not ready for, but you simplified it. Right. So for a lot of times, they're used to watching shit part 1, part 2, part 3, the end. Mm-hmm. That's why after the Avengers, a lot of people got angry. They was like, there's more? Y'all putting shit on Disney Plus? It's like they got this internal anger.
It never ends. That's the thing about comic books. They never end. Batman been the same age my whole life.
Comic books have been around for
and I think
hundreds of years.
I think live action fans are just now hitting the like, oh, it's never gonna end.
Never. This stuff was coming out before most of us were born. So it's gonna be around for a while.
Yeah, and I mean the novelty is gone. It was like, it's like back in my day, you got your Howard the Duck and you fucking liked it.
You loved it.
You got Nick Fury with David Hasselhoff, and you just pretended it was great. That's what you did.
Dude, it's like Meteor Man wasn't based on a comic, but he was a superhero, so I'm gonna go see it.
Let's go. Someone gotta take down the Golden Lords. Okay.
Yeah. I saw steel. I saw barbed wire.
Yep.
Because was, but now it is that. I was saying it's like an embarrassment of riches, like the amount of stuff that there is. But yeah, it's like you're right. It did become like homework. It did start to feel that way. But it's like that is a choice, and
exactly.
You can skip things, and you can.
And for me personally,
for me.
Oh no, you go.
No, I was just saying, like, another thing is that, like, so much of comics is the creators, right? So like, we're gonna watch something because this person is making it or that person is making it. In the same way that we read something like, oh, this guy's on the book now. Oh, she's writing it. Okay, now I'm into this. And it's just like it's not that Thor is a good or bad character. It's like we love Taika Waititi, and when he took Thor over, that was exciting. But then someone else takes it over, and it might not be as good. And and I think, like, to me, that was the big failure of DC is they took a guy with such a specific love it or hate it vision, and there was no in between. And you either were into that thing or you weren't.
Yeah.
And it took over, the entire universe. And so I'm wary a little bit of the James Gunn thing just because it's like, so now we're just going to give another person with a strong point of view the whole universe. Like,
like I wonder if it's an overcorrection for
was
James
more of a
Gunn.
committee.
I wonder if it's an overcorrection.
And it sucks to, especially, trust me, as I say, in a strike, especially, it sucks to be like, having a producer lead things, an executive lead things was better than having a writer or a director.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a committee.
Well, the thing I was going to say too is I wonder if it's somewhat of an overcorrection because obviously the thing about the Zack Snyder verse is it got so dark and it was almost like off-puttingly dark, by the end. And I wonder, and James Gunn is so good at making things like funny.
He's really good with colors.
Even if they are like dark, like humor moments, he still is able to like bring levity with the humor. And it's why I love his work, to be honest. Like I loved Peacemaker. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I love that stuff. And he loves the quirky, weird parts of the universe. So, they're like casting like Plastic Man and shit like that, like Metamorpho. And you're like, oh man, that's cool. Like I want to see those people on screens. And I hear they're looking for comedians to do the roles and stuff. But it does make you wonder if we're just like 4 years from the problem the other way, where people are like, this is just too funny. Is any of this going to be serious? Like, why is Batman making jokes? And then we're just going to be right back here to like, fuck DC.
And maybe it's just me, and maybe it's the way my mind ticks. When people go, something's too funny, it's like my mind mentally breaks. I was like, too funny? I've never heard that. Like, I don't know about you, but I like to laugh and I like jokes. Right. If something is too funny, it's normally a good thing, be it too funny bad or too funny good.
I think that's because of how we're made. We like comedy so much.
Okay, I'm with you now.
If like, to me, I still remember the main complaint that people had about Thor: Love and Thunder was it was too funny, and I was just like, I can't.
Yeah, in my mind, I was like, get the fuck out of here. Too funny.
Yeah, I can't pretend to be like even engaging in that. I like that it was too funny. Please give me more too funny shit.
I like
it.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of it. There's one word I think that I always use when I'm talking about nerddom and stuff. Is shame. Get that Game of Thrones shame,
Yeah.
Shame.
But I think that a lot of the stuff that doesn't work and a lot of Snyder was shame. Like, this is fucking goofy. This is silly. You have to make it serious. You have to make it important. And I think the thing that I love about James Gunn, there is no shame in what he does. The Polka Dot Man looks like the Polka Dot Man. King Shark is a shark. Rocket Raccoon is a raccoon. It's like, and he really embraces the silliness of it all. And a lot of times I think that can work. That when the Deadpool costume looks like fucking Deadpool, and I feel like there was a lot of shame in a lot of the early 2000s movies, the water expecting yellow spandex and everyone's wearing black leather outfits, and we have to show that this isn't just for kids. And it's like, no, it is a kid's world, and you should be fucking lucky to visit it and feel like a kid for a few hours.
And my thing, is this?
The last thing I was gonna say was like, and I think like that was part of like the appeal. You look at like Spider-Verse, and so many of the sequels aren't doing as well, and that one is doing so much better than the first. Like, and that movie does not have any shame to it. It is a complete, unabashed love letter to comic books and Spider-Man.
Yes.
And it's like we don't want to feel weird about shit, and it's like it's not odd to be a nerd anymore. It is a socially acceptable thing, and worse than that, it's a business, and they know they can make money off us.
Right.
But the more that because we love it when we talk to each other and we don't have shame, and we make references to each other, and we want our culture that we consume to make us feel that welcome too.
Yes.
And we want the illusion of it just being entertainment. And when it does feel like a business also, when we watch something and it feels like you're just selling me on something, that takes the fun out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for me, Mike, people who take something that was designed for children, which is why most people get into comics anyway as children. I didn't read my first comic until I was like an adult. I knew they were around. I knew they existed, but I remember we was at Barnes and Noble, and Project was looking for comic books and stuff, and I happened to look up on the rack, and I love cartoons, so I started seeing like Scooby-Doo, Powerpuff Girls, the Smurf, like all on the old school spin around thing. And I was like, ooh, I love the Powerpuff Girls. And I read one issue and it was exactly like the cartoon. And so like now we had double the problem because he would walk in there and be getting like serious shit. And I'd be like, yeah, y'all got Powerpuff episode 2, season 3, And so from there I would like read weekly or monthly. And so that kind of got my addiction to it. And then I started branching off into other things. As I tell people, if you never read comic books before, you think comic books are silly or stupid, I say, there is something from your childhood that you love. It is in a comic book somewhere. You just have to go find it. Somebody somewhere thought about you and was like, I'm that person. And they wrote it no matter how ridiculous it is, no matter how silly it is, no matter how goofy it is. And also, you know what? When I go to the movie theater, you know what I want to do? Check out of the real world. And so when I go into the movie theater, I want you to be over the top. I want the costumes to be bright. I want you to do silly stuff. I want you to take me out of just the reality. I come here an hour or 2 or 3 to check out. And so when people go, this has to be based in reality, says who? It's a comic book. It's not based in reality.
Well, I think he said it earlier, but it was the shame. And I feel it too. Like I remember seeing the X-Men in the leather suits and being like, well, when are they gonna put on the suits? Like it's near the end of the movie, especially in the third act when they're like, all right, it's time to go fight Magneto at the Statue of Liberty. I'm like, all right, man, let's get the fucking visor out. Let's get the fucking yellow and black. Yeah. And it's just not gonna happen.
Roger was disappointed.
Yeah, and like I don't like hate that movie or anything. Like at the time, I did like the movie because I was like, oh man, we never had anyone that gave a fuck this much, even though this isn't, like James Gunn, what he does now. It was like the start of something of like, oh, they went and got real actors and they fucking like did a thing that I enjoyed, but it was like a bit of like, guys, the cool people are gonna beat us up if they find out what we're into.
And you know what?
Put them in leather suits. Make Hugh Jackman Wolverine. He's got to be 6'2" and Diesel. And you're like, all right, close enough. Let's just do it.
And the thing is, it doesn't make sense. Like it's one of those things where you're targeting an audience that does not care, and like that's the thing. You trying to go, because I understand you want to make it broader. I understand you trying to make as much money as possible, but there are times where it's an audience out there you're never going to capture. Yeah, and that's okay.
Well, I think up until that time, things before were so cheaply done and bad.
Yes,
that it felt like a godsend to have like Blade. I remember when Blade came out.
Blade, oh my god!
And I was like, oh my god, they gave a fuck. Like the whole like it was like watching a sporting event where like you're rooting for the team that is like up, but it's getting close at the end, and you're like, they're gonna fucking blow this game. That's how Blade was for me, because I was like, they're gonna fucking blow it somehow at the end, because they never get this right. And they nailed it, and I was like, oh, so it is possible to have like inspired stuff from comic books that actually is good. And I think, X-Men was a good step, and I think we're kind of, I guess, probably like 2 years removed from the height of the height, like Endgame level, like everything's just fucking great. And now I think we're where comic books are. Sometimes you get a great fucking comic book. It's like rolling dice. Sometimes you read them all, and then you go, oh man, 3 of those were great, and 9 of those fucking sucked. And that's kind of where we are now, and that feels more realistic and healthy, honestly.
Yeah, Friday is the new Wednesday.
Yeah.
Every month.
Yes.
A new thing comes out, and you might like it, you might not, and I mean, I think it's like you look at the number 1 grossing movie of the year was the Mario movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that movie is completely shameless, and it literally, it's like, here is everything you want from this property in a movie in 90 minutes. It's like, I want to pay for it, and I want you to give it to me, and people were fucking happy. It's like, I remember that first Mario movie. I was 10 years old, and I was like, this is not good. This is like embarrassing.
Yes.
And then like seeing this new one, it's like there's a joy to that.
Yes.
Movie. There's like a fun to it, and Top Gun last year, Maverick, like where it's just, I think that we've been cynical for so long, and like you said, people like jump to the negative, like, but like Karen, you said, when we go to the theater, we want to feel joy, we want positivity, we want earnestness. Like, I mean, it's like, I think that those Avatar movies are so poorly written and kind of silly, but it's like, you're getting what you're paying for.
Listen, I honestly, the Avatar movies to me,
even though there's things in it that don't work, you are being transported to another world for 3.
Yes, the Avatar movies to me are like what cinema is. Like in that it is the one time you can go. The only way you're gonna enjoy this is going in IMAX, 3D, whatever the fuck, and seeing it in a theater somewhere, because it just ain't gonna hit the same on a small screen. In your house, it ain't gonna be the same. The elements that make this good or whatever can only happen in this one fucking specific place, and
anywhere
never again.
Yeah.
So like, to me, that's a different type of like that's a different type of experience that I did enjoy. And I knew when it's like, this shit was like 3 hours, some shit, I knew, I was like, fuck, man, I gotta sit in the theater. I just won't enjoy this at all.
That's what I said.
And I don't. And the writing is very simplistic and predictable. It just don't matter when your brain is just fucking like getting that 3D goodness in your brain.
Yeah. When you're at home, it's like, the writing has to be doing some of the work, the acting has to be doing some of the work.
Right.
You're asking too much.
Yeah. You can easily be distracted at home.
Yeah, I think, the best way to put it is to say,
if you put thought into unobtainium, that is something James Cameron did not.
He didn't. So why are you doing it? That wasn't the point of that. I think the best way to put it is that we come to this place for magic, okay? We come to AMC theaters to laugh, to cry, to care, because we need that. All of us. That's what we want. That indescribable feeling we get when the lights are getting dim and we go somewhere we've never seen before.
Come on.
Not just entertained, somehow reborn together. Dazzling images on a huge...
What feels good in a place like this?
Oh, okay. He already knows.
What feels good in a place like this?
Heartbreak feels good in a place like this, right? It does feel good.
That's why I came. Me and Roger got a running joke. Every time she comes on the screen, I salute her, because Roger made a joke about that woman and her hive came out hard.
Yeah, I made the mistake of making a joke about it on Twitter. I was like, I'm already in theater. Why do I need to hear this? And so many people were like, you don't get it. And they were right. They were actually right. I get it now. And I every fucking time I can stand up to it. It's my pledge of allegiance.
Yes!
And I respect it, because that's why I'm here. Mike, you were also talking about becoming a father, which is something that happened in the pandemic as well. You've been very open about like the journey for like adopting a child and how and the difficulties of it and stuff. First
Oh
off,
yeah.
what was the impulse that made you and Adina go, let's look into adoption?
I came in her and nothing came out.
So the opposite of Nick Cannon. All right.
You got the opposite problem. He never misses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a broken dick cannon. Let's just say there's no music coming from my drum line.
So you weren't doing the wild and pull out method.
I am wild and in.
So like, what starts that conversation where you're like, did you bring it up? Did she bring it up? How's that work?
Nah, we were just like, okay, so let's figure this out, and we looked into it, and we thought about other means, and I was like, I think that this seems the best for us, for who we are, and so yeah, we called an agency, and they started giving us information, and then we were in the process, and we got our first match, like, I want to say 6-7 months after first starting the process, and you make like a dating profile, and the moms pick you. That's how it works now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's probably better.
Swipe right, swipe left.
Yeah, because normally the other way around,
Yeah.
There's a lot of discrimination. Like, there's a lot of, I prefer you to have, red hair. I prefer you to have blue eyes. So they just kind of making it easier for the moms.
Okay.
And I can see that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you get like a notification?
Yeah. So, well, they call you. They're like, oh, they picked you, and your lawyer calls you. It's like, yeah. I mean, it's like we're straight middle class. Like, we're going up against rich gays, man. Our profile has to be on point.
Yeah,
you better be on point.
Listen, the rich gays not playing right now.
They out here in these streets.
No.
With all the babies.
But yeah, so we got a match, and you talk to the mom on the phone. We flew out to meet her, and then it was like she had the kid and she didn't place. She's like, I want to keep my kid, and we're like, you're allowed to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it happens.
So we had that happen twice.
Oh
yeah,
man.
It happens a lot.
Did you think about going like raising Arizona after that?
Yeah, and it's so funny. I always say, like, show business like prepared me so well for that, because the birth moms are still so much nicer. Like a woman told me why I didn't raise her kid, but I still don't know why I'm not writing for Jimmy Fallon.
Great point.
At least those moms read my fucking packet.
Right.
So so then the third mom that we connected with, that ended up being Logan's mom. And she had the baby a month early. It was like, my water broke, and we had to go to Florida to get him.
Florida is where you're originally from as well, right?
Yeah. So I always say this to, like, the goal of a parent is to make sure your kid has a better life than you. And I'm like, I took him out of Florida 18 days into his birth. I did it. I'm done.
Yeah, you can never.
Achievement accomplished.
No matter what happens in this kid's life, they can never look back at you and say that you let them down, because you're like, you could be in Florida right now, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm holding him and I'm like, you're not getting his vote, DeSantis.
Yeah.
I'm taking the vote back.
I'm gonna actually let him read about Black history. How you like that? So like, what happens? Okay, now that you like have Logan, what happens with the birth mom? Like, is it a thing where you get the kid and then there's just like a zero contact thing? Is it you get the kid and it's how do we keep her in contact? Like, how does that responsibility weigh on you?
It depends. You know, you kind of make a plan together. You know,
Okay.
so we've talked to her since. We've sent her pictures. She sent us pictures. She wrote him a letter. You know, so there's some contact. I mean, yeah, it's such an interesting thing. There's so many things to deal with. You know, he's mixed race.
Right.
And it's a really funny thing. Yeah, so his mom's white, his dad's black, and it's so fascinating because I'll talk to people who, you know, when I'm out with them, like I was on the picket lines last week, and I was talking to this black writer that I hadn't met before, and then I mentioned, you know, that he was adopted. He was like, "I knew it." I was like, "I didn't think he was you."
Like the color was off.
He was like, "Why didn't you just say?" He was like, he said to me, he's like, "I wasn't sure if you knew."
Oh no!
I was like, I know.
They wanted to be sure that
I didn't want to say nothing.
I didn't want to spoil it for you.
I mean, listen. Adina is a nice woman and everything, Mike. But
you know, I hate to tell you, you might want to get a test.
Yeah, like I'm that guy on Maury who's like,
yeah.
"He's mine, I swear."
I'm gonna raise him. I'm gonna handle my responsibility.
I'm gonna be the daddy.
Right.
Don't care what the test say.
Yeah, you're like, this guy's getting his heart broke when his DNA test comes back. I don't know what to tell him. That's dope though, man. And I love watching like your pictures and stuff with Logan, because I feel like you're passing on the nerd legacy. Now, I assume when he rebels, he'll be a NFL running back when he's 14 or something. But as of right now, it's like watching him in like Logan like pajamas and X-Men clothes. Like I love this. This is amazing.
And here's the thing, Rod. He doesn't have my genetics, so he might be a good athlete.
Yeah.
You never know.
Listen, a lot of talented athletes come from Florida. Like I don't know if you know, but that is a huge like talent pool. Like it fuels college football and athletics. So you know, it is conceivable that that his rebellion at 14 or 13 or whatever is gonna be him coming home with like a football pad and some helmet and being like, "No, Dad, I want to play sports. I want to dunk on people.
I don't want to be a nerd like you.
I'm tired of the Avengers.
I want to play real."
I was like,
sports.
go do your homework, son.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, go do your homework, son, and watch all 11 seasons of Smallville.
Yeah. What are you doing in here watching NFL games? You know this is an X-Men house.
You're not on Comixology, son. No, Dad, I'm not. I'm watching it from the web. I'm rebelling.
What is this, a playbook? Get that out of his house.
Only comic book X's and O's in this house, son.
Oh man. And then like, what does it feel like being responsible for this life? And you recently, like you said, lost your father. Obviously, our condolences.
Yes, baby.
And you know, by the things I at least see you share about your father, you seem like it was pretty like supportive, or at least not as judgmental of like the nerdery and stuff. So like, you know, is there inspiration that you take from that, or is it like, you know, like I want to be like my father, I want to be, you know, like there for him in that way, or is it like, because I feel like there's only two ways to go with fathers. It's either I want to be just like my dad, or I will never be like that motherfucker my dad. I feel like those are the only two types of
Yeah. No, you know what it is? It's like, the best thing about my father, I think, and I think the most important thing you could be as a parent is just supportive. My dad, before I did comedy, I did slam poetry. I did slam poetry when I was a teenager.
Oh,
And my dad would take me to slam poetry readings. There was a slam poetry reading at the Barnes and Noble, and it was mostly attended by senior citizens. And my dad took me to that because he knew that's what I was into.
Oh,
And he fucking hated it.
of course, everyone does.
But and he
my baby into it, so
and I was
gonna go.
But he was, like I did taekwondo for a little bit. I played guitar for a little bit, and his thing would be like, all right, for Christmas, like, this is your present. Here is your fucking guitar, like, get into it. And then when I decided I didn't want to be into it, he was like, okay, that's fine, but be into something. Like, his thing was always like, I just want you to care about. Like, whatever that is, I'll take you to the comic shop. I'll do this thing with you. I'll go to the fucking slam poems. Just, like, I think it was important, like, for him, like, just be interested in life, have something you care about.
And I guess with Logan being so young,
and I think
now you don't have, like, right now his interests are probably like eating, using the bathroom, like it's like you be supportive, but he probably don't have a thing yet, right?
Yeah, but he's laughing already, man, and like that's fun. I mean, bombing in front of your 8-month-old is the worst. You'll do like a funny voice, and he'll laugh at that funny voice 100 times, and then he'll just fucking stare at you like you're the frog that isn't singing "Hello, my baby, hello, my darling," like all of a sudden.
Do you ever use like
I was
Are you ever doing like jingling the keys? I heard that's a hack bit that a lot of road comics are using.
Yeah. A lot of road parents, yeah. I was doing like funny voices.
Yeah.
Like he ate blueberries for the first time like a month ago, and I was like, "You're the blueberry boy." And he laughed so much at that voice, and then I kept doing it, and then I just did it once, and it got nothing, and he just stared at me, and I was like, "Why did I ever think that was funny?"
I'm terrible at this.
You turn into a comedian who's bombing. You're just like, what else? What else? What do you do
rattles,
for?
How's those rattles shaking over there today?
What do you do for a living, man? Where you from?
Yeah.
Warm milk? How the warm milk streets doing?
Tip your nannies.
Yeah. Give it up for yourself, Logan. You look great. Thanks for coming out.
I'll be here all night.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But you also talked about going out to the picket line, to the strike. Like, how often have you gone out there?
Yeah.
Like, is it a event? Is it like, what's the vibes out there?
It depends where you go. I've been. It's a little harder with a kid, and so, but I've been with him a couple times. We went to like Netflix last week. He's 8 months, so when I'm like, "Hey, let's go to Disney," it's not like that depressing. And like, it's so funny. Like, like people will be out there and they'll be like, "Yeah, way to bring the baby. That's so cool. You brought a baby." And I'm like, I'm not working, and childcare is expensive.
Yeah,
like,
right?
if I'm gonna be here, like, he's got to be with me sometimes, and
right.
And it's fun. He loves being outside. He loves movement. He loves like sleeping through. He sleeps through like the honking horns and all that. It's incredible. But it's been interesting. It was so funny because I went on Friday to Disney with him, and that was the first day that SAG is also striking.
Yeah.
And and I'm also in SAG, which I know it's weird they put me on screen, but I'm in. But I did enough stand up and at midnight appearances that I then became a SAG member.
Right.
So, but it was interesting, like, because before that, when it was just writers,
Mhm.
the sidewalks were a lot less crowded, and on Friday there were people like taking selfies and and all that
Yes.
stuff.
It's
And,
it rejuvenates.
like I saw this woman like walk out of a car like a 50s movie star. She was like all made up and everything.
What? Oh my God. I saw someone on Twitter being like, yeah, it's SAG striking now. And where is Ben Affleck? And I was like, we're calling out specific actors now? Is this, like what is happening?
Oh yeah.
It got real when SAG got involved. Like you didn't see that during the writer's strike. It wasn't like, and where is this particular writer? Like, but with SAG, it was like Matt Damon ass ain't out here.
Because with the SAG, it's like we see y'all on the TV. The writers, they go, y'all just write. It's almost like y'all are quote unquote less important, but it was like, no, this is the real strike right here.
Yeah, they're the beautiful people that say our words.
Right. So it matters now. And how do you think the Directors Guild feel that they were the one that folded and like signed them that shitty ass contract?
Man, I don't know.
It's bad because everybody's striking
for 2 weeks. Like you signed yours to avoid 2 weeks and then SAG was like, yeah, so no one's filming anything. So I don't know what you
still can't do your job.
Yeah, that was weird.
Well, they're like, well, now I guess we just direct reality shows and we go back to where we started.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on to the island
to
again,
Fiji.
I guess they could do that again, man. Although I heard because of it's been so long since the last strike, my understanding is a lot of reality show people have joined SAG since the advent of the reality show.
Right, because it's so now writing credit.
Yeah, so now they it'll shut down some reality shows, even though that's like kind of a byproduct of this whole thing.
But then it's not live. It's not written then.
Yeah.
Right.
Mike, have you seen any of the scuttlebutt online about I from what I've read about from the SAG specific policies and the Writers Guild, I haven't seen anything that says people can't do this. But online I've seen some scuttlebutt about when people are going to San Diego Comic-Con, there's people that are don't do certain cosplay or certain shows and movies and stuff. Have you seen any of that stuff, or is anyone talking about that on the ground?
Yeah, and I think I'm in chats where people even just flat out ask, "Can I do this thing? Can I do that thing?"
Yeah,
which is the best way to go about it. Just ask permission.
Ask up front.
You
don't want to be
you can
do
and what you can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen
I think Comic-Con, it's oh, sorry. But Comic-Con, I feel it's you can go and you can I can do a signing, but I can't do a panel where I'm promoting something from a company that's been struck.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if I'm in The Walking Dead, I could do you could come to my booth, but I can't promote anything on AMC.
Okay, that makes sense. I also thought some of the stuff is also just fans. Yeah. And I think fans are just trying to be polite and not piss anybody off. And I think that's a really cool impulse.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's if you pay for your travel to Comic-Con and you fucking built this suit, I don't know, man. I'm not gonna be. I personally wouldn't be mad at you for you fucking dressed up like Spider-Man. I wouldn't be like this motherfucker right here. But I do think the actors shouldn't go. You know what I mean? I do think we should shut down any panel that we can. I'm not gonna knock you having fun as a fan of something.
Correct.
But I think anything literally work related, strike related should be off limits if you give a fuck and you want to be a good person. I also I don't know if you see this too, but this is mostly an online thing. Every once in a while, there's like some person that's not in the industry that's like, I'd cross the line, I'd write a TV show right now. And I keep wondering, like, how do you think that's gonna work? Because eventually there will be a deal. So what the fuck's gonna happen to you when you're like the scab motherfucker that was not in the union,
want to work with you,
and now like what? I don't know, man.
And they also say that not understanding that because it's a union, you have like a minimum.
Yeah,
and most writers make that minimum a little bit above.
Right.
And what they don't tell you is that most writers are in the fucking most expensive places in this country. They're in New York or they're out in California, which means you got all these taxes and shit. So when you go, well, it ain't but you go, no, that right there is probably equivalent to somebody's $35,000 or $40,000 job somewhere else. Like it is not really what you think it is. Once they start paying lawyers, agents, once you start, divvying out and
taxes don't come out of that shit. Yeah.
No.
It ain't like, it's just funny because like if you just put the solid number up, everyone goes like, you made $70,000. I don't see the problem. Like, okay, imagine you made that all at once, no taxes were taken out, and then your lawyer had to get their shit first, their agent had to get their shit, your representation had to get their shit. Then the taxes come out, and you got to pay all those people's taxes, by the way. And then you got to go pay that rent. That's supposed to last you all year, depending on how much work you get. So, like, if you only worked one show, your ass is poor. Like, you broke, dog.
You got nothing else lined up.
Oh man. So let me ask you this.
Yeah, and if you only worked one show before, that was a 23 episode season a lot of times. Right. And now it's, so much shorter. I was on a show when Logan was born. I was in a mini room, and that's one of the things that they're striking against, the idea of mini rooms. And I co-wrote an episode of the show that I was on while I was in the NICU taking care of Logan.
Wow.
Because I knew like how rare it is and tough it is to get a job. And I was like, I'm going to keep this job until it's over.
Exactly.
Even though, I remember it was like he was born on a Friday, and I'm like, I'll see you guys on Monday on Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I explained, and everybody was like supportive, but it is that thing of like, the work doesn't come around so much that you can say no to it. And I mean, it's always that hilarious thing, and it's a dangerous thing when we become a fan of corporations and not people.
Yes.
Like that even when we are like, I love Disney, but not this, or even like Marvel or DC. It's like, who cares? Like be a fan of like the individuals. Like even like in sports, right? Mm-hmm. Like fuck the owners. Like I like the players.
I like the players. No one's ever rooted for a fucking owner in their life.
Mm-mm.
No.
And
except a few people who like that Donald Sterling tape, but
yeah. The other thing too I was thinking about is it changed probably in the last 10-15 years, but you used to go to a movie and the box office of the movie wasn't necessarily news. Like it was news if it was groundbreaking, right? So it's like, oh, this movie has made the most money of a movie that came out at this time.
Avatar,
something like that. Right. But now it's almost like we're all fucking getting the investor report. Like when you get to Sunday and it's always like this movie had a budget of this much, it made this much this weekend, it's projected to make this much through its entire run. None of that is about how good the movie is.
No.
Like did you enjoy the movie? Was it fun? I don't know. It made 130 million. It had a budget of 250 million. And if it doesn't cross that, and I think that is also indicative of the working environment, because a lot of the shows and stuff you see getting canceled now are just business decisions.
Yes.
And they're nakedly business decisions. It's like, it's not about critical acclaim. There's Emmy nominated shows that they're just like, that's enough of this shit. It's like, we gotta get in the red or whatever the fuck, some exec is looking at a balance sheet and being like, shelve that shit. We don't want to see Batgirl. Now get 2 more of these Flash movies or whatever. And you're just like, that's just business at this point. It's not even art. And I think if we're gonna be business minded, that's why the fuck you strike. It's a business.
Yes. Also, Mike, as somebody who kind of understands through logic but don't, what's the difference between a mini room and a regular room or a non-mini room? What's the difference?
I mean, like a lot of times, like a mini room is they'll do it before like a proper season, So we will hire these people for 8 weeks instead of just hiring everyone for like 20 weeks, and we could get X amount of scripts written in that time. We could expedite those scripts. We could even write the whole fucking show.
So you're not there with
depending
everybody
on what it
else.
is.
Sorry, so you're not there with everybody else, so you get all this input, so it can grow and be modified and change. The actors might do something, or so all that process is eliminated because you're doing it up front, right?
Well, some of that is, and and a big thing now is less people are hired for longer, so less writers are on set. So you used to make money that way. I remember I was on Crashing, and I was on Crashing from March until the end of August, and more than half of that was filming, and I was punching up, and I was there, and and now it's it's this number crunching stuff, and there was like 3 or 4 of us writers,
right?
And we were there every single day, 12 hours a day with everybody else, and now they're like, well, what if one person, it's like, you could write an episode, it could be your first episode of television, you're not even allowed on set.
Yep. And like a lot of times you learn from
or
that.
They want you to be there for free.
Yeah, like for me with game theory, being able to be on set was how I learned so much. Like I just learned what people do. I talk to people and like, oh, what's a line producer doing? Like some people let you like stop by and if they're not like actively working, obviously. But like you stop by somebody's office and be like, can you break down what you do real quick? And they'd be happy to teach. And now I know what a line producer is and how that thing should work. And I wouldn't have got if I was like, I wrote this and now I'm at home and they're filming it, I would have never learned any of that shit. So those are huge opportunities. Like, what if I want to move up? What if I want to be a head writer? What if I want to be a producer one day? Right. I'm learning skills because I'm around. But if you're cutting costs and you're like, we either want you to be around for free or not at all, you're stalling people's careers out.
Yeah, and somebody also talked about, they were saying that what they're doing, they're segmenting the process. You're right, so that's all you do is write. But they was like, y'all gonna go to some of these writers and ask them to do other shit that you took away that training ground for them, right. And then gonna criticize them when they don't know the language, so things they would have learned by working with these other sections of people.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, and I think an important thing too is you brought up the disposability of the content.
Yes.
And so it's that thing, right? Like, okay, so if what I make, thousands of people can work on a show, and then some like Willow, right, where they go overseas and they and it doesn't even exist anymore. It's not even on Disney Plus. It's
right. Can't find it nowhere,
right? And when I see that, the message to me is don't put your life in your work.
Yeah.
Right. That it's disposable. Like put your life in people. Put your life in your family.
Yes.
Your work can bring you enjoyment, but don't let it be the only thing. So then it's like, okay, well, I'll put my life in my family, and it's like, well, you're not even giving me enough to take care of that.
Right. Yeah.
And then it becomes a bigger, thing.
Yeah.
I mean, when you said to me, oh, you seem more joyous and stuff, I think a lot of that too was being less obsessive with work. and focusing more on family, which, like the pandemic helped with that, of just realizing, the grind of, of any job, but of show business, of I need to get up this many times, I need to do this and that, and like none of it matters, and you're ultimately forgotten within a generation or two. We will all be the old guy in Coco.
Yes.
Oh man, I'm gonna cry just thinking about it.
Yeah, but it's like, but within an amount of time, new things will take over the old things, and maybe a show or two. So like, don't put all of your energy into that.
Right.
It is a lesson I've learned, because it's it's like, the tech companies, they're Galactus. They're just gonna fucking eat and move on to the next planet.
Yeah, they're gonna eat each other. Like there's like Microsoft is buying Activision. Like they're just fucking two Galactuses are combining on those. And I think we can probably wrap it up on this, but I think the thing I've learned is, ever since I was 15, is like, work is working at McDonald's, and it's like, I'm watching every industry become McDonald's. Like I know, Mike, you famously worked at McDonald's for a long time. I worked at McDonald's as a kid, and I feel like everyone's kind of like trying to climb up a ladder as the water's rising underneath us. And the water is like just trying to get us all back to McDonald's. It doesn't matter if you got a writing job, if you got a fucking college degree, it's like all of this shit is like, oh, you got a college degree, good for you. That's $150,000 of debt. Okay, welcome to McDonald's, bitch. You're gonna be keeping one foot out of the fry machine for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and also I think too, you have people who, quote unquote, got these corporate jobs, and for some of them, they have, quote unquote, always looked down on people in the food service industry. And now a lot of them, because of COVID and all this stuff, have some of the same complaints that it's
all the same shit.
That they act like that the people at McDonald's did, quote unquote, didn't deserve. Now it's you, but you deserve that.
Yeah, it's all the same shit. Only people that keep getting rich are like the execs at the top that make 100 and something times the average employee's salary, when they used to make like 40 times or 10 times or whatever. Those are the only people that continue to like get further up the ladder away from the water. But the rest of us, it all feels like a shell game where it's just like, you're thinking you made it. It's like, I got a fucking TV job, I'm good. And they're like, we will not be paying you for streaming, and we're taking your shit off of the app. You're like, fuck, I'm back to McDonald's.
Well, and it's funny too, when I worked at McDonald's, the meanest people in the drive-thru were the people that made $1 more or $2 more. It was waiters. Someone in an Applebee's shirt would be fucking mean to you.
Yes.
Because you know what? Whenever someone was in a Hummer, whenever a rich person showed up in the drive-thru, they don't even act like you exist.
Right,
but
you're a machine.
Someone who makes a little bit more, right? Like this is the thing that always happens, right? Well, I'm getting paid only $5 more than someone in the drive-thru, or if we all talk ourselves out of healthcare because we're afraid they're gonna get it.
Yes.
So then nobody does. Right. It's always this thing, right? That like we could all uprise together against the 1%, but what they've done, I feel like such a hippie, but it's like they've convinced the 99% to fight each other.
Yes. Yeah, I see people fighting with the writers or making these points like, they got a union. They're lucky to even have a union. I'm like, everybody should have a fucking union.
Yes, they should.
Like,
why do you think they
like it's not like
them up?
It's not like writers started a union and then started advocating against everyone else's union. Like, we're not like the police union. You know what I mean? We're a good union.
Yeah, this union was created to protect like this group. And the thing is, for people that are anti-union, I always go, well, there's something wrong with you, because a lot of times if you begin a negotiation for a lot of unions, everybody get pay raises. Like, it's certain things that kind of automatically kick in for unions that you don't get. And if I have a complaint, this collective can argue on my behalf, and I'm not like, okay, I don't have $100 million to quote unquote fight this company, so just fuck me.
Right. Let's end on a high note. Mike, what are you enjoying right now? Like, if anything?
I was gonna get even more serious.
Oh, you know
I
what?
was gonna
Let's
say,
get
like,
serious,
you know,
and
one
then
of the
we'll
reasons
finish with that
I
question.
became a
Go ahead.
writer, you know. No, we could do both, but like, you know, I got you know, health insurance from it. There's so many comedians that die in their 20s and 30s on the road or at home. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get health insurance until I was 33 years old. And,
Ah.
you know, it was like a black light on a dirty hotel, let me tell you. All the problems that I had Crohn's, you know, I had autism, I had depression, I had all these, but I was never going to treat any of them because I couldn't afford to, you
Right.
know, and that is even a luxury. Like you know, by the time I went to the dentist, the guy, you know, is like, "What the fuck did you do your?" I was like, "I couldn't afford to come here for 10 years." He's like, "Oh, okay," you
Right.
know, and my union are the ones that gave me that privilege. That it's disgusting that it's a privilege, but
Right.
to be able to do those things,
Mhm.
and you know, because I saw people that I know passing away.
Yep.
And you know, you can be a touring comedian, and yeah, there is no union, there is no protections. You know,
Mhm.
you could hopefully be successful enough to buy your own health care, but
Right.
no one's giving it to you.
Nope.
It's a collective, and the
And
thing,
it's expensive as fuck.
right. And the thing is, I've always
Oh
looked
yeah.
at comedy, and I was like, why don't they have a union? And I thought about it. I was like, there is always somebody willing to do it for nothing. And because you always have somebody going, I don't know what's my opportunity, like will forever cross that line.
Yeah.
Versus everybody going, no. If we unionize, you would make a minimum.
Right.
Like you wouldn't have to go in there and they give you some popcorn and a Diet Coke and be
And a
like,
drink ticket, yeah.
right, but like make us laugh. They would actually pay you.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to convince everybody to do it, but I mean, I think that's why.
Do you ever read one of my favorite books? Is the Dr. Seuss book, The Sneetches?
Mhm.
You know that story?
I think
don't.
so. It's been a while.
I
Refresh
did,
me.
I-
You know, like half the Sneetches have stars on their bellies and the other half
Yeah.
don't.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this guy comes in with a machine that he can add stars to the ones who don't have stars on their bellies. So then they get them. But the ones who already had them initially are like, well, we don't want them now. So they get theirs taken off. And this goes back and forth until everyone runs out of money.
Yeah.
And the guy drives away.
Yep.
And it's like that's what happens is the infighting and stuff. Like we're always going after the wrong fucking targets, like, you know,
Yes.
people,
Meanwhile,
not systems,
the fucking
and shit like
studio.
that.
Meanwhile, the studio is the Lorax. Because I saw a fucking picture online where they cut down the damn shade of the trees. Because that's where people were like picketing would go into the shade to refresh. And these motherfuckers cut down the goddamn trees. Kind of evil, Doctor. Like you don't. How do you do that and don't know you're the bad guy in the Dr. Seuss book? How do you not know that?
I did not know they was doing that bullshit.
Man, it's fucking insane. It's fucking insane, man. I don't know.
Well, you know what they said last week of like, you know, let them starve and they'll come back. And
yo, I read that interview and I was like, you know what? These people need a writer. Like, you need someone to help freshen this up, to punch this up, because right now you just sound like some really hacky bad guys. You know,
that being Lex Luthor and shit.
Like if you put this interview out, and if the purpose of this interview was for the general public to read this and be like, man, that Bob Iger, he's all right. You fucked up, because that is not what anyone thinks.
No.
Oh my god.
But I'm sure it killed on Epstein Island.
Yeah.
I'm sure he got high fives.
That's his real audience, okay? The 1%.
I'm sure I'm sure the 18-year-old hopefully paid to lick his feet, said, "Great job, Bob."
Yeah. I'm sure Zaslav texted.
But that, you know, it's like
it today.
There's a show. It's popular, and I think it's a well-made show, but I don't like the message of it. And this might be a hot take, but
give it to him.
middle of all the strike stuff and labor rights. The Bear.
Oh yeah, I've seen the first season.
Have you watched The Bear?
I haven't, Roger.
I watched the first season.
I haven't seen it at all.
Because the whole thing about The Bear is your work will give you joy. Your work will give you purpose. Your work will give you an identity. Like, especially in the second season, every person that works at the restaurant finds a love of life and themselves through their work. And I'm like, that is the most, because Zaslav said that. Zaslav was like, the writers will want to write again. They will come back to us. Like, I watched Titanic for the first time on Sunday. I'd never seen it, and
me neither.
You know, right? That fucking I've always hated that story. The band that plays as the ship is sinking.
Yes,
it's like
there's like
joke.
Heroism.
Yes,
if there's heroism in cruise ship musicians, you know, like,
right?
Like, it's like, but that idea, like, you know, your work is so important that it defines you, and how wonderful that they played until, and the whole thing was like, you know, they did that because they wanted to calm everyone else on the ship, as if fucking violins are going to make you feel calmer.
Right.
The
ship is sideways.
I got water up
and
to my neck.
It's the thing. It's like, if you just want to say, yes, I am selfish and I just wanted to play my music, okay, but let's not act like that's a noble, wonderful thing.
Also, it doesn't make sense because they didn't even have like TikTok then. They couldn't even go on like IG Live. So they did that just for the people in the room who are also about to die. Like, what the fuck was the point of that?
No, it was just for themselves.
And
that's okay. Like, if you want to work and it's just for yourself, but like, to give yourself this illusion that it's that, like, because I care more than you,
right?
You know, about my job, I'm a better employee than you because I'm willing to be there 3 hours later for the same price, you know, that you get paid, but you want to leave early, so you don't care. Right. It's all that. It's all messaging of.
Yes. They should have one dude in the band that did get up and run away. Like, that would have been nice. If there's one dude that looked at the other guys like, I'm fucking crazy. He just starts like swimming. I've never seen it, so I don't know. I don't know why they would do that.
And that guy survives.
Yeah. Yes. And he's the one that tells the story. But
that guy survives, and he's like,
it's not the noble way that James Cameron tells the story. It's like, these motherfuckers had lost their mind. They would just. I said, stop, put the violin down. They were like, no, we got to go on. And man, anyway. I
had to leave them, man.
Yeah, so I'm a solo act. If y'all booking anybody, let me know. Oh, man. Mike, man, so what? I guess now that there's no writing stuff, there's nothing to promote. Like, what do you do with yourself now? Is it just like all baby pictures and then going out to the strike? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. I'm forced to be a person. Resolve this now.
We've gone too far. They're winning. We're becoming human again.
Yeah. I've been watching a lot of movies is what I've been doing. I've been watching a lot of movies that my dad loved, never saw, because that's like a way to connect with him while he's gone. And I've just been watching things that I've heard about for years that I'd never seen, and you know, and then like falling in love with the idea of making stuff again.
Yeah, I've been watching stuff too, man. I watched all of Justified this summer, and they got a new season that dropped like yesterday. I'm all caught up. And man, I wish I had known it was so good the whole time. It's just, apparently I'm into like white criminals getting shot by white sheriffs, like
that's
in a country town. like black people ain't even involved. It's just the cops show up, they shoot a white dude, and then you're like, all right, next week we'll shoot another one. Like, this is awesome. Man, late to the spirit.
Leave us out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they had some black people in like season like 3 and beyond, but the whole purpose of the black people is they're just always like, listen, that's some white shit y'all doing.
Leave me out of it.
Just stay out of the black part of town and you won't have no problems with us. I was like, I love this. This is the greatest show of all time, man. Well, Mike, man, it's been great talking to you, man. We're definitely gonna do this before 7 years pass again. I don't even know how that happens.
Please.
I feel like I just keep up with you vicariously through social media.
Same.
And it just I somehow count that as interaction when we should be hopping on the podcast every once in a while, man.
Yeah, we don't want your baby to be last 7 to 8 next time.
And it just genuinely, man, like you are just one of my favorite people, man.
Ain't he though?
So,
he's the best.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming through, man, and I'm glad everything's, other than the strike shit, obviously, but I'm glad things are going good for you, man, and
Same.
all that progress. And I appreciate you being so open about, these topics that I think for people it's difficult to share, but like you're an open book, man, and I really appreciate that. Over.
Yeah, man, my autism lets me talk about my autism.
Yeah. All right, everybody. That's it. We'll be back Saturday for our feedback show. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you guys check out Mike. Mike, are you doing any stand-up right now? I did forget to ask that.
Yeah, I will be at Largo in Los Angeles the second Sunday with Patton Oswalt and friends. So I'll be on that show. And he's my hero, so I'm really excited to
Guess
he
what?
saw me finally.
He's in Justified.
Yeah. Nice.
That should be a
so
real
and watch. And the other thing is watch Bupkis. That's it is that the last thing I'll say is the whole thing of like, should we boycott stuff right now and all that? No, because we are going to have a deal. We want these we want the networks to be around. We want the studios to be around with their full trees. And so support the stuff that people have made. If you see a new show, like watch it so much that they'll want to make a deal and hire us all back at rates that are fair and respectable.
And watch it before they take it off, because they'll just take some shit off now. Y'all don't know.
And for those of you that have not seen Mike live,
oh my God,
it's fucking hilarious.
Yes,
you will have the time of your life. We watched him in the Comedy Zone years ago.
Yes,
and it was such a joy to watch him work.
Yeah, and check out like Sadamantium, which is on all your streaming services. Honestly, just one of the funniest dudes out there, man. Especially if you're at the intersection of just like nerdery and wrestling and pop culture, man. Like, just there's nobody doing that shit better. And I know that Patton Oswalt show is gonna be off the fucking chain.
Be lit. So if you get a chance, go out there and see him.
Yep. All right, that's it, man. Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate you. We'll be back.
All right, thank you, guys.
Yep. Until next time, love you.
Love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody. Bye, Mike. Thank you, everyone. Boom.